I love my plants. I talk to my plants every day. I wish I could take my plants everywhere. So when I got a call saying my water bill was past due, all I could think about was, oh no, my plant babies. The guy told me I needed to go make a payment at a crypto ATM in town. Then I remembered a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Crypto ATM? This is a cryptocurrency scam.
Recognize fraud sooner so your money lives longer.
Maybe less water wouldn't be so bad.
The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Morgan with AARP's Fraud Watch Network.
And I'm Al Campos with NRTA, AARP's Educator community. And we are joining you today from Washington, D.C.
Al, look at these plants that we have here today in the studio, just like in the video. You know, I really love my orchids. I have them living in my kitchen windowsill, and the blooms are just so gorgeous, and they last so long.
Well, Karen, my favorite plant at home is a tomato, but this is not a tomato plant.
Yikes. Oh, ouch, no. Now that you know where we are, we want to know where you are joining from. On the screen, you will see a QR code. If you have your smartphone handy, just open the camera. Point your camera at the code, then tap the link that pops up to share where you are joining from and answer our group questions. We would love to know where you are joining from. Again, on your screen, you will see a QR code. On your smartphone, please open the camera. Point your camera at the code, then tap the link that pops up to share where you are joining from and answer our group questions.
Well, what I didn't love about the video was the scam. It showed the perfect example of how scams actually happen in real life.
Nothing about it seemed unusual at first. It was just a routine day, until it wasn't. And that's the point. Fraud criminals have a playbook to get their targets to believe something that isn't true and to act quickly to address it. That's what we're here to talk about, how to spot the warning signs and stay in control.
Let's take a look at where people are joining from. Where are you joining from?
Wow. Minneapolis,
California?
Yeah, Peterborough, New Hampshire, Virginia, Newmarket, New Hampshire.
North Dakota, Kentucky, Alaska.
Somebody's at the beach in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Nice.
That's terrific. We are so excited to have so many educators from all over the country, along with our Fraud Watch Network experts who share how to protect yourself and your loved ones. And we need your help with getting this information out. As educators, you naturally continue to share information with churches, organizations you volunteer at, and with family and friends. Please share what you learn with them and others to help expand our reach.
Did you know that nearly 4 in 10 U.S. adults, about 103 million people, have already experienced fraud? And when it comes to cryptocurrency-related scams, this new threat is particularly troublesome. In 2024, U.S. adults reported approximately $9.3 billion in crypto fraud losses, with those aged 60 and older losing about $2.8 billion. Trusted professionals are not immune. In fact, fraud perpetrators increasingly target people through sophisticated and often highly personalized schemes. So, Al, how did NRTA get involved with fraud prevention?
Thanks so much for asking, Karen. Well, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus was an educator who founded NRTA in 1947. She went on to found AARP 11 years later. Today, NRTA is an integral part of AARP, and I'm proud of the role that we play in continuing Dr. Andrus' legacy. As part of AARP, we work to protect 50-plus educators and to empower them to improve their communities with information such as fraud. Karen, how did you get involved with the AARP Fraud Watch Network?
Well, thanks for asking, Al. I began working on identity theft and economic crimes issues when I was an attorney working for the Maryland legislature, and I developed a very strong interest in these issues. My work included research, a lot of writing, and also drafting anti-crime legislation. So after I retired, the director of the AARP Maryland State Office asked me to volunteer to do fraud prevention outreach. This launched my next chapter, which is focused on protecting consumers and educating communities statewide.
Karen, we are so appreciative of you being here today. During NRTA's 75th anniversary, you excited our retired educators with how they can protect themselves and from loved ones from fraud. I can't wait to hear what you have to share with us today. After we hear from Karen Morgan, we will be joined by Francois Cleveland, AARP's Government Affairs Director for Financial Security, and Matthew Hogan, Connecticut State Police Detective and member of the U.S. Secret Service Financial Crime Task Force. We will then go to your questions. Please take a few minutes now to share any questions you may have about scams and frauds in the Q&A section. Karen, are scams different across the country? And what can we do to protect ourselves?
Now that's a great question, Al. Let's find out what people are seeing in their community. Now on your screen, you will see a QR code. Point your camera at the code, then tap the link that pops up to share what scams you are hearing and seeing in your community. You can also answer our other questions. So going back to the question about what we can do to protect ourselves. We want to watch for 3 red flags and prepare ourselves to respond to them. Trying to keep up with the latest scams is exhausting and overwhelming. So the Fraud Watch Network has been working toward a higher level message, kind of like a stop, drop, and roll, for reacting to a fire, but for fraud. There are 3 red flags we see in most scams. 1, an unexpected contact. 2, assertive emotion. 3, a sense of urgency. When these 3 red flags appear together, the safe response is to take an active pause, which is a deliberate act that allows us to move away from an emotional response and engage with logic. So what does that mean? Pause. Take an intentional step back to process what's happening. Reflect. Does this make sense? Have I heard something about this before? Protect. End the communication and protect yourself and your assets. Know the triggers, know the response. Pause, reflect, protect. Ultimately, the active pause can help us recognize the scam and protect our money and sensitive information.
Thanks so much. I will remember that. Pause, reflect, protect. I think our attendees have given us the answers to what scams they are seeing now. Let's take a look. What types of scams are you hearing about in your communities? I see crypto, very large there. Mm-hmm. Social Security identification, credit card payment declined.
Yes, we've all heard about these scams.
Phishing, rampant. I could relate to that. Plenty of phishing coming in my inbox.
Me too.
Parking violations. I've seen that with the QR codes. Well, a nice mixture of issues here. Mm-hmm. Karen, do you know how our group's answers compare to the Fraud Watch Network data?
Yes, I do. I have the top 5 scams reported to AARP's Fraud Watch Network helpline. Identity theft comes in at number 1. Business imposter scams, online dating, tech support scams, government imposter scams. And I think we saw all of these from our viewers.
There's something powerful about collective thinking, particularly among educators.
That's right, especially this group joining today. Please share what you know with others. Have regular conversations with older and younger family and friends. Fraud is the biggest crime in this country, and it can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, income, education, or intelligence. Now, as educators, you also play an important role in helping reframe the conversation about fraud victims and shift the narrative away from victim blaming, which only serves the criminals and has helped deprioritize this as a crime. It might be overt, or it might be subconscious and unintentional. Either way, our words matter when it comes to fraud. The impact on victims and their families can be both financially and emotionally devastating. Too often, we shame and blame them for falling for it, making their devastation worse. By using empathy and support when we talk to and about fraud victims, we can encourage more victims to report to law enforcement, seek needed support, and increase recognition that fraud is at a crisis level. As much as $196 billion stolen in a single year. And we must do more to combat it.
I wonder, how do criminals like to be paid?
Well, there are lots of scams, but only a few ways the criminals go after our money. Be wary of any request to pay for something or resolve an issue with an unconventional payment method. Cryptocurrency is a hot commodity for fraud perpetrators right now. It's increasingly common in investment schemes, where a connection may start online or through an errant text message and grow into a trusted relationship before the friend offers step-by-step instructions on how to successfully invest in crypto, ultimately on a fake exchange. In other cases, fraud criminals direct you to withdraw money from bank accounts and feed it into cryptocurrency ATMs in order to pay a fine or resolve an issue. Now let's take a look at this video on how crypto ATMs work. When we come back, we will hear from Francoise Cleveland and Matthew Hogan from Connecticut.
Crypto ATMs look a lot like regular ATMs. You might not even notice you've passed one in the grocery store or gas station. But the way they work is totally different. These machines aren't connected to banks. They are used by people to convert cash into cryptocurrency, but criminals are using them as a payment method in their scams. Here's how crypto ATM scammers steal millions from consumers. In a crypto ATM scam, fraudsters trick victims into withdrawing their own cash and depositing it into a cryptocurrency kiosk to purchase virtual currency that's then sent to a scammer's crypto wallet. Confusing, right? Scammers love cryptocurrency because it has the benefit of not being well understood by most consumers, and it can be difficult to trace. And while scams like this come in all shapes and sizes, they often start with a false sense of urgency. It could be an out-of-the-blue communication from what you think is your utility company, saying your account is delinquent and they are sending someone to cut off your electricity unless you can pay now. Or it could be from someone claiming to be from your bank, saying someone is actively hacking your account, and the solution is to move money out of it and into another account now. The list goes on, but the next step is the same. They direct you to withdraw a certain amount of cash from your bank and head to the nearest crypto ATM. They might even give you directions on how to get there. So helpful, right? Then they give you specific instructions on how to deposit the cash into the machine and send it. Once you complete the transaction, you might think you've taken care of your problem, but the reality couldn't be farther from the truth. What you've done without realizing it is you've converted your money into cryptocurrency and given it to the criminal. Once that transaction happens, the scammer stops communicating with you, and you start to realize it was a scam from the beginning and your money's been stolen. Because cryptocurrency is not backed by any government institution and transactions can be tough to trace, the chances of getting your money back are slim, which is a big benefit for criminals who steal millions and dodge law enforcement. The bottom line is that no bank, business, or government agency will seek payment through a crypto ATM. So protect yourself. If you do get an urgent message from your bank or a utility or even a friend, contact them directly. If the message didn't come from them, disengage. Any problem that must be solved with money sent through a crypto ATM is a scam. Full stop. For more information on cryptocurrency and scams, go to aarp.org/cryptofraud.
Isn't Amy great? You may have seen her on Good Morning America and other national shows. Again, I'm Francoise Cleveland, Government Affairs Director with AARP, and I lead our financial security advocacy. Let's go back to that opening video. My favorite plant is an aloe. It survives no matter what I do, which tells you how resilient it is. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Building resilience against scams and helping others do the same. Detective Hogan, it's so nice to have you with me today. We've worked together for a couple of years, and why don't you tell everyone how we got started and what's your favorite plant?
Thanks, Francois. I'm glad to be here and grateful for everyone attending today. And since you started, my favorite houseplant is actually the money tree. And that's because I'm trying to get that back for our financial fraud victims. But also it's a very beautiful tree with a beautiful braided trunk and bright green leaves.
I want a money tree growing dollars in my house. Maybe I should change my favorite plant. Please go ahead.
So I'm based out of Connecticut, in Eastern Connecticut, the part of the state. And my role in this agency, the state police, is to handle predominantly white-collar crime and cryptocurrency cases. But also using my task force status with the United States Secret Service, I can work cases that cross borders and utilize federal resources. And we started noticing an increase in reporting just around the end of 2021. And we didn't have anything to handle, no capabilities to handle cryptocurrency-based investigations. We saw there was no law enforcement in our state, especially whether local or otherwise, doing anything about it. So my partner and I decided to just take this head on. We also noticed that kiosks were becoming just a large part of our case origin. And so my partner and I decided to try and find an alternative remedy to handle these kiosks because we were too focused on recovering victim assets. So we connected with some stakeholders like our Department of Banking here in Connecticut, as well as AARP, to help us find some guardrails to put up to protect consumers. AARP has been a huge help in this entire process.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership with us, and I love the partnership you just described with your fellow law enforcement officers. So let's talk more about cryptocurrency fraud. The numbers are alarming. This is the 2025 FBI data that came out a few weeks ago. Crypto scams punch way above their weight. A little fewer complaints, but dramatically higher losses. This chart shows what law enforcement is seeing nationwide. While crypto-related complaints make up less than 1/5 of all fraud reports, they account for more than half of all reported losses. This likely understates the problem because many victims never report what happened. And focusing closer more on cryptocurrency kiosk fraud, if the first slide shows that crypto fraud punches above its weight, this slide shows where that punch is landing. Victims reported $389 million stolen just in 2025. Complaints rose 23% in a single year, but those losses jumped 58%, which tells us the harm is intensifying, not just spreading. This chart also shows the losses that are distributed by age. And you can see the 60+ category dwarfs every other group. There are more than 30,000 of these kiosks nationwide. And if you ask your smartphone to find a Bitcoin kiosk near you, I bet there's one closer than you think.
Francois, these are the numbers, but they're not telling us the human side. Let's hear from Jackie, a victim who I worked with personally, to tell her story.
Jackie's story is a heartbreaking example of just how sophisticated and cruel romance scams are. What feels like genuine connection is really calculated manipulation.
So at this particular time in my life, I was 59 years old, and I had all the things that you work 40 years for, saving for your retirement. And there was just that one thing missing, being so busy, is someone to share it with, or, just a companion. Now, I had never done online dating, but I was willing to give it a try. I got on the site, one of my best friends talked about late May of 2023. I did see someone who I was like, oh my goodness, he had beautiful, blue eyes. So I reached out and I was like, oh, I like your eyes, as a compliment. He reached right back out to me. We began to communicate. He was like, oh, I really like you. He was pretty insistent about how much he cared for me so soon. He told me that, he was a widower and he had 2 small boys. He had lost his wife and was raising these boys, stayed at home with them with COVID, and that's how he got really good with crypto. He went to great lengths to gain my trust and get my guard down. And there were trinkets and pillows and there's a necklace with my picture on one side and his on the other. I started to think of this is someone who I could spend my life with. And that's how he also, planned it as we were planning this life together. That was part of the trust. And then came the talk of investment. Not pushy at first, just kind of, did you know about it? I think that was 2 months after. That was when I first went and borrowed $40,000 for my 401k. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a twilight zone. I still say, did this really happen? But it did. I want everyone to know there's no look, there's no age. If you feel like or even think you're being scammed, let someone know, and maybe they can help you, or go to the police.
And what really stands out about this victim, Jackie, is she's actually one of the victims I tried to help. What she says in this video, we've heard so many times from so many other victims over the past 4 years of pig butchering investigations. She is actually one of the whys we do this effort.
Matt, Jackie is unique in her willingness to share her story. We hear from many about how scams are vastly unreported. Why should victims report? Can law enforcement really do anything? And what can a victim do if law enforcement doesn't act?
Yeah, it's important for victims to report across the board early and quickly because it's our best chance to get something back for them. There's no guarantees, of course, but late reporting is almost a guarantee of losing everything. Law enforcement, when we're properly trained, educated, equipped, can access these cases, potentially freeze and recover cryptocurrency only when it's reported early and quickly. Beyond that, we can only at least provide some answers to the victims. If law enforcement doesn't act, make sure you're persistent, but be kind. We don't always have resources available, like in these special cases of cryptocurrency. But you can also contact your local field offices, whether it's Secret Service, FBI, or HSI as well. And then, of course, your state reps.
People can feel uncomfortable going to law enforcement for a variety of reasons. Maybe they don't believe their money is recoverable, that they may be shamed about the scam, or that the police won't do anything about it. Can you respond to these concerns? Maybe describe the reporting process and what someone should expect if they report this crime? Just make them feel a bit more comfortable about that.
Sure. First, come prepared, right? Bring your documents, make it easy for everyone, including yourself. Things like receipts, statements, and other data that you would need to report this are important. These are obviously very lengthy investigations. So just recognize that when we're dealing with cryptocurrency, overseas exchanges especially, it's going to take time. So be patient is the underlying point there. You should also know that these likely won't result in any arrests because most of these are transnational jurisdictions in these cases.
Yeah, thanks for that information. To those of us joining, in a few minutes, we're going to go to a question and answer. So please type in your questions now. So about 2.5 years ago, AARP Fraud Watch Network saw a clear increase in victim reports connected to crypto kiosk scams, both the dollar losses and the disproportionate harm to older adults, stories like Jackie's. They asked if there's anything that we could do through our Government Affairs Division to help put protections in place legislatively. So we got to work. At that point in 2023, 2 states had passed legislation, Connecticut and California. Connecticut, Matt, you were leading the charge there. And AARP started to meet with law enforcement, including you, Matt, the industry, regulators, and victims. We asked what would make the most difference for victims and law enforcement. And then we brought together our state offices, our volunteers, and a network of stakeholders all across the United States to pass legislation. And I'm proud to say that as of this point in 2026, with AARP leading the work, 29 states have passed legislation, 12 so far this year alone. Many of these provide protections like state licensing, daily transaction limits, requiring receipts, refunds in cases of fraud, and live customer service. 2 states have even passed a complete ban on these kiosks. And I look forward to the time when every state has passed similar protections. Al, do we have any questions?
Logan, for everything that you do. And yes, we do have questions. As a reminder, if you have any questions, please submit them using the Q&A feature. We'll get to as many questions as we can. Looks like we have our first question from Matt. Matt, what would you say to someone embarrassed by fraud, or if they don't recognize they're in the middle of a scam?
It's very difficult for victims to report these for those exact reasons. So as hard as it is, they need to get some kind of supportive counsel, whether they talk to a family member or a pastor or someone close to them to kind of help them walk through the process, not alone. Because if you're in it alone, it's much more difficult.
Thank you. This next one is for Francois. How do I find out if there is a crypto bill in my state?
Well, that's a really good question. In fact, if there is a crypto bill in your state, we would love your help to get involved. The first thing I would do is contact your local AARP office. We have offices in every single state, in Washington, D.C., the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and ask them if they have legislation pending. Like I said, we have 29 states that have currently passed legislation, but we're working in every other state to get something passed. We would love your help to be involved.
Al, I'd like to add something to that, if I may.
Sure.
Maryland is one of the states that has passed cryptocurrency legislation, but it started with a victim story. We had someone who was victimized in a cryptocurrency scam, and he actually became a witness when a cryptocurrency bill was brought before our Maryland legislature. It was his idea, and his state legislator decided to introduce the bill, and the bill was ultimately passed in 2025, and we managed to tweak it to improve it in 2026. But it started with someone who was victimized in a cryptocurrency scam.
That's an excellent point. The power of the victim to harness that power to effectuate change and to possibly pass a law in their state. That's an excellent example. So Karen, this one's for you. Does the Fraud Watch Network need more volunteers?
Well, that can kind of ebb and flow over time. We have had a rush of people volunteering to be part of the Fraud Watch Network, and a lot of them have really great expertise, like in forensic accounting and that sort of thing. So there are calls that go out cyclically. When that happens, I can't guarantee, but simply ask, and at some point there will be a new class because volunteers need training to be part of the Fraud Watch Network helpline. So when that class is put together, then maybe you can be part of that class.
It's an excellent point and a tremendous opportunity to be to get the training and to become a volunteer within the Fraud Watch Network. So Matt, this one's for you. How do I contact police in Connecticut and if I know that I'm scammed?
You can contact your local barracks, depending on where you reside in the state. You can also go to any local agency, whether it's a local police department. We also have a specific email, which is csp.virtualcurrency@ct.gov. That goes directly to us regarding cryptocurrency-related cases specifically. So other cases, go to your local barracks or call the barracks number. Or if it's crypto-related, you can go right through the email.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Francois, this is for you. How do I contact my lawmaker about fraud issues?
Well, every state legislative website has a find your legislator option within the website. So you can go in there, put in your address. It will take you to who your legislators are, your senators and your representatives, and you can contact them that way. They'll usually have a telephone number or an email. And the other things that you can do also is our AARP offices also put out action alerts when there are bills that are pertaining to fraud that are going through or other issues that we might be advocating on. They will send you emails directly where you can actually link to an email system that you can directly email something to your legislators, letting them know your opinion on the issue.
Excellent, thank you. Karen, this one will draw upon your experiences. So are there any suggestions on preventing elder financial exploitation?
We do have suggestions. Let me go back to what has become our mantra at AARP and now at NRTA, which is pause, reflect, protect. That's really what we need to do. That's one of our best defenses. And the other thing that I really want to get across for all of us that we need to remember is that Fraud has become so pervasive that we're really dealing with transnational organized crime. That's what we're up against. And that's why it is so difficult for us to be victorious against that. We're talking about networks, organizations that have hierarchies, that have CEOs that work on how to steal our money. And the other thing that people need to understand is that if you are victimized, because in spite of our best efforts, it can still happen, it's not your fault. It's not our fault if we're victimized, it's the criminal's fault. That's why it's so vital that we report these crimes. That's our way of planting a flag in the sand and at least saying, I'm going to hold the person responsible for this accountable for attacking me and stealing my money, because that's what's going on.
It's a great way to empower those that have been scammed to do something affirmative about it. And it looks as though you're really making an impact with educators, because we have another question for you.
Oh.
So how does one contact the Fraud Watch Network?
Well, I'm surprised that's not tattooed on my forehead, but the way to contact the Fraud Watch Network is to call a toll-free number, which is 877-908-3360. That's 877-908-3360. And we have trained volunteers at this helpline. They're actual humans. I promise there are no robots or AI involved. And they will help walk you through whether you've been victimized by a scam, or if you think you have, or if you just want to report an attempted fraud or a scam. And these lines are manned from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So make your calls then, and someone will help you.
That's an amazing thing, the human touch that's so critical, especially at a time of need and quite frankly, when folks are just very upset about what has happened to them and their loved ones.
Exactly.
So Matt, this one's for you. Are you seeing more reporting on these types of scams?
Yeah, we've been inundated, quite honestly, across the state with assists, with whether it's local police departments that don't have the capacity to work these cases, or our federal partners who are busy, obviously working much larger scale cases. So we are getting hit pretty hard. I would say we're on average doing about 100 to 150 cases per year, just on cryptocurrency cases alone.
Thanks. And the next one is for Karen and Francois. What about Facebook scams? Are you seeing any things happening there in that realm?
Yes, that's a huge vector from my standpoint, and maybe Francois has some additional insights into that, but from our standpoint, that's a huge vector for scams, especially through ads, people selling something in the marketplace or just trying to connect with family and friends, and you don't really know who you're connecting with until you verify. That's what we're dealing with today. Because so much of our lives are conducted through screens, we have to verify who and what we think what we're doing, period, full stop, and we have to do it again and again and again. That's what's so exhausting.
Francois, any further thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think one other thing that we can address is that the Facebook is actually more utilized by those that are older. And so when you see these numbers in the cryptocurrency fraud, where the money taken is so much larger, I mean, they're getting to folks where they're at, and the older folks are on Facebook. And, you hear a lot about how that the fraud might be perpetrated more for, against older folks, but really it's that older folks are losing more money or having more money stolen from them because they have more money that are available to them. You have folks that have saved their entire lives. They have their homes paid for. They have their 401ks that they can tap out of. And we're seeing the large dollar losses, and the criminals are getting to them where they are.
Here's another one for you. Francois, what is the best message to send to lawmakers about the issue of fraud?
I think the best one is that fraud happens to everyone, and that protection should be in place for everyone. And they need to not only understand that this is a a crime against the person, the victim, but it also impacts families. It impacts your local economy and your cities that you live in. We had actually done, we broke down the numbers for cryptocurrency kiosk fraud, and we learned that for older adults, the average amount stolen from them was around $40,000. And we put that into numbers of, what that would be impacted for their local economy. And so we saw that they could have paid 5 years of healthcare costs. They could have paid their utility bills for 9 years. It was 8 years worth of groceries, 65 years of tithing to your local church. And so it's a crime against everyone. And again, like Karen was saying earlier, that we're funding big crime with it.
Thank you. Karen, any advice on credit card fraud? What are you seeing here? Getting any calls on that?
There are plenty of calls that come into the Fraud Watch Network helpline about credit card fraud. It's still a major way in which fraud occurs. And what we need to do is to, one, report it. Report it to the credit card company, even if you suspect fraud. This has happened to me. I can remember looking at my charge card and seeing fraudulent charges that were pending, and I called my credit card company, and I told them before they even realized that they were fraudulent that something wrong was going on. So you need to report it. Also, be advised that with credit, when you're using your credit card, it's the credit card's money that is financing the purchase. So it's their money that's in the front line, and that's a good thing. It's better than having a debit card or a check or some other direct access to a savings or checking account that you have. So use your credit card, but be on the lookout for fraud. And the other thing is that credit card companies don't want fraud to happen any more than we do. They have vast resources to investigate and to refund the credit that they've issued, and that's why it makes sense. We're more protected with credit cards than we are with other ways of paying.
Excellent. Francois, are you seeing the issue of credit card fraud bubble up in any of the states or with legislators in the country?
Yeah, so credit card fraud is a significant problem, yes. These protections are usually covered under federal law, so you won't see as much legislation coming up in the state. And our federal folks are on that too, looking at best ways to address fraud through federal legislation.
All right. Well, it seems as though any more questions? It seems that's it that we have right now.
Okay. Well, Al, before we wrap up, we want to share a few calls to action. Now, since all of you already have your phones out, I would love for you to take a picture of this next slide as I go over it. That way, it will be in your photos when you want to share it. So let's talk about calls to action. Number one, visit aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork to get the latest news and information on scams. Sign up for biweekly watchdog alerts or report a scam on our scam tracking map. Number two, find free fraud prevention events in your area at aarp.org/local fraud events. And three, call the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline at 877-908-3360. That's 877-908-3360 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday to share information about a scam you are aware of, ask questions, or get judgment-free support if you or a loved one has fallen victim.
Thank you so much. We want to close by hearing from you. Scan the QR code on your screen to answer our next question. Have you or someone you know experienced becoming a fraud victim? Again, please scan the QR code on your screen to answer the question. Fraud is so common these days.
It really is, Al.
Let's look at the results. Let's see what we have here. Well, it looks as though we have a yes is a big winner here, and this is a comment on our society and a comment on what's happening. And thank God we have law enforcement and we have AARP and the Fraud Watch Network to help out and provide these excellent resources. So our final question for you is, with the information we have provided today, do you feel better informed about how to identify and avoid a scam attempt? Please scan the QR code on your screen to answer our last question. With the information we provided today, do you feel better informed about how to identify and avoid a scam attempt? We're really hoping that this program helped you and that you share the information out with your friends and family.
So Al, let's see if we have results. Okay, we've got a good portion of people, nearly 50%, saying that they feel extremely confident about sharing this information, that they've learned something from this broadcast about the issues regarding fraud and how to prevent it. And nearly 30% saying that they are very confident. So this is a good thing. I think this is great. Thank you.
This is good. This is a great opportunity to get this information out. I think all of us know someone, either our family or friends, that may have been affected by fraud. And this information is great. And please share this information with as many people as you can. And educators, volunteer for the Fraud Watch Network if you can. So if you'd like this program, watch out for our survey email within 24 hours. We really need your feedback. Your feedback helps us plan for future topics, and it's important that we answer your questions. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to our esteemed guests, experts Karen, Francois, and Detective Hogan. As a reminder, our next event will be on September 30th, 2026. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're glad that you found this information helpful, and have a great day.